Good afternoon slash morning. My name is Paul Zigo. It's a pleasure to be here with you again today. Talking about love, talking about life, talking about lineage, talking about lemons, talking about lakes, talking about lips, talking about longing, and every other L word. No. Hello, hello, hello. Dude, I have to ask you, Russian Blue. Is your name racist in some way? The reason I ask is that in the area I grew up, there used to be these two little twin girls named Lamb and Lynx. They were kind of well known locally, two little white supremacist girls that made like skinhead Nazi music. And the name of their band when they were together was Prussian Blue. And every time I see Russian Blue, I think like, dude, do we got ourselves a Nazi in here? Do we got ourselves a Nazi? That's me. What's you? Right, but like it clearly, Prussian Blue clearly had like a significance to the Nazi movement. I'm wondering what. It's a breed of cat. I did not know. Yeah, Louis Theroux did a documentary about them called Louis versus the Nazis, where he met with Lamb and Lynx and their mother. Also met with some skinheads, and all of that happened in Central Cali too. A lot of people don't know that. Prussian blue is specifically the shade of blue Bekinski used in his paintings. That shade is given color, the same thing that gave Zyklon B its color, I think. Oh. Just wondering. Streaming on Gauntlet Day. Yeah, well, one of the things I've been working on lately, and I hope you guys can tell it's paying dividends, is working on my voice. So on these Gauntlet days back before, when I wasn't doing a whole lot of streaming in between these big streams, about like a quarter, maybe halfway through the Gauntlet, my voice would just start giving out, and I'd be like, anyway, Michael knows is a piece of shit, you know what I mean? And it's like, that was just because I was talking on the show, like doing these big bursts of expository dialogue 3 times a week, and then the rest of it I was whispering, or talking in a low tone or lower tone than I normally would, project my voice to try and save it. But that's the opposite of what I should have been doing. What I needed to do was this, or something like this, where I do vocal warm-ups. This is a way, for me to warm up my voice so that tonight my voice doesn't fucking get raggedy halfway through. I'm gonna need my voice tonight because the mystery gauntlet, they are not prepared. They are not prepared. And neither are you. Been watching you so long, I didn't notice that till you pointed it out just now. It's something that, like, I have a feeling like it bothered me way more than it bothered most people in the audience. Way more. What's the going guess now? I'll tell you a little story. It's kind of funny. Yesterday, TJ, we have a group text, me, TJ, and Scotty, and he texted the group text, and he was like, So I've got some stuff that I can pull for this gauntlet if I need to. And then Scotty answered, he was like, I'm just showing up. What happens is a mystery. And TJ was like, seriously though, Paul, what's going on with this gauntlet, man? And don't say it's a mystery. And I wrote back, I was like, it's a mystery. No, I had to tell him, like, okay, I'm handling it. So all you have to do is show up. Okay. There will be a gauntlet. There will be things on the gauntlet. You just don't have to worry about it. He was like, okay. The truth shall be revealed. A Jacques Lafrench gauntlet. I don't think he could handle a Jacques Lafrench gauntlet. Ah, may we? Gauntlet where you can only be past personas. Oh, yeah. A gauntlet of having Paul inhabit all of his wacky characters. Maybe that's what it is. Who knows? Is this going to be a torture gauntlet or a happy gauntlet? It's a mystery. That is part of the mystery, isn't it? Will this be a gauntlet that is pretty easy to get through because everybody's just interested and there's a lot of good conversation and engagement? Or will this gauntlet be a slog through the swamps of despair, anguish, and degradation? That's the mystery, right? What do you think of Red Letter Media? I do not. Tearing down an engine. That just reminds me of being a kid. My dad was such a grease monkey. He'd be out in the garage tearing something up on that Jeep or working on somebody else's car, just up to his elbows in grease. Tearing down an engine and rebuilding it. There are no secrets in this house. There are indeed secrets in every house. Every house has its secrets. Kevin Spacey gauntlet. That would be good. Maybe it will be. It's a mystery. Rudolph Giuliani, huh? Guess you'll just have to tune in and find out. Surprised you don't have an of course drop. I need to find one. I'm lazy with my drops. I don't want to have to like take it into an audio program and trim it. I just want to find the drop that I want so I can just download it. Can Kevin Spacey make a comeback? Hasn't he already, though? Isn't he still working? Like, to me, that's... He never left. I mean, he got fired from House of Cards or whatever, but that's about it, right? He's still working. May we? The M. Night Shyamalan gauntlet. Shyamalan. Yeah, M. Night Shyamalan. Yep, the twist you never saw coming tonight for patrons only. 6 hours of question mark. 6 hours of what could it be? 6 hours of can they survive? Can I survive? Remember, I got to go through this myself. I've got to survive this as well. Yeah, but he isn't in blockbusters anymore. Give it time. This shit with Kevin Spacey will fucking blow over. He's just too talented. The dude is too talented. Somebody's going to come along with a script and a lot of money and go to him and be like, hey, Kevin, we need you to play this. And he'll come back and there will be news articles about it, like Kevin Spacey returns to the top of the silver screen, but are people ready for it? It'll just be all good. Like any good publicity is, or any publicity is good publicity for Kevin Spacey. People might argue about it, but he'll be back. Trust me. He's just too talented. The guy is too great a talent to not be utilized. It's like Roman Polanski, right? The dude literally anally raped an underage girl and is considered to be one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, still cranks out movies, right? Like, the world is willing to look past a lot. Do you like American Beauty? Yeah, it's a great I don't know, it's a great movie. I mean, Kevin Spacey and Annette Bening carry that film. I mean, it's just like a masterclass from both of them. And they carry a film filled with talented actors and really considerably powerful performance. So I've seen Swimming with Sharks, yes. I like the scene where he's a fast food worker. You don't get to tell me what to do anymore. Would you like ketchup with that? Staring at a plastic bag in the wind gauntlet. Yeah. You definitely look younger. I'm thinking it's the sleep. I'm thinking you're probably right. I think it's the sleep and a haircut and a beard trim that knocked a few years off of me. But yeah, no. Whatever, man. Whatever, man. Dun, 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 dun. I saw this bag and I filmed it for 22 minutes. It was like it was dancing with me. Sometimes there's so much beauty in the world. I mean, like my heart will just burst and I can't take it. CPAP Paul is best Paul. Still Paul. Still the same old Paul. I have not finished the third season of True Detective. I'm working my way through it. No spoilers. I'm enjoying it. They definitely leaned, or at least seems like they're leaning heavily into the supernatural aspect in this one, which is kind of a throwback to the first season. The first season had a little bit of that voodoo about it, and this one's got a little bit more. But I'm enjoying it. You look more alive generally. It looks like you had good sleep. It's amazing. Oh, dude. I will never underestimate that shit again, because now I've seen the difference. Like, I did not know I was feeling so shitty because, in large part, because I was not sleeping. Spoiler alert, they are truly detectives. You son of a bitch. You've ruined it. Do you think Skylar White is the most unlikable character in TV history? Drugs bad because society told me so. I fucked Ted. Yeah, that was an interesting thing when I watched Breaking Bad is, I watched Breaking Bad without the benefit of the giant community that had grown up around it. I watched it last year for the first time, or maybe the year before. After it had been out a number of years. And I didn't really know anything about it other than a few like meme templates and stuff that had come from it, and maybe a clip here and there. And so I remember talking with Amelia about it, and I was like, man, I cannot fucking stand Skylar. She drives me nuts. And I remember her saying, like, yeah, she's like, she's got a lot of detractors in the fandom. Like, a lot of people hate her character. And I was like, that made me think about it. And I was like, that's on purpose. She's purposefully kind of a heel character in this. You need somebody to be mad at other than Walt, because Walt really is the cause of all the problems, but you're rooting for him, right? So that's like, you gotta fucking, you gotta take that into account. Just finished The Sopranos. Yeah, I mean, great show, right? I hate Marie way more than Skylar. Really? I thought Marie was interesting. I liked Marie. Um, but yeah, Skylar was a very, very self-absorbed hypocrite of a character. And I think it's a testament to the acting and writing chops that went into that character that people felt the way that they did about her. Someone has to protect this family from the man who wants to protect this family is a great line of hers. She had some great moments. There were definitely some oh shit moments. Do you hate Tony's wife in the same way as Skylar in Breaking Bad? No, but they are very similar characters. Carmela Soprano is also a giant hypocrite, right? And that's actually really explored, I think, way more in depth in The Sopranos than it ever was in Breaking Bad. Carmela Soprano goes through season after season after season of hating what Tony's doing and hating the way that Tony treats her and his family and hating that, all of that, but loving spending that money, loving having those expensive dinner parties, and loves driving her expensive ass fucking SUV, and you know what I mean? Loves living in the big house with the big nice pool. And then she's confronted with it in the later seasons when she tries to leave Tony and she goes to that counselor, and she doesn't get she expected to go to a counselor and have that counselor go like, oh, it's okay, go ahead and cry, Carmela, it's okay, you're doing your best, you're valid, you're wanted, you're needed, and you're doing the best you can. That's what she wanted. She thought she was going to go there and pay this dude to gas her up, and this dude was like, you're every bit as guilty as your husband. You keep your children around a man that you know is a multi-murderer, like a brutal multiple murderer, and you keep your children around that man, and you want me to justify that for you? I will not. You're every bit as complicit as he is. You're wearing his murder all over you. You know what I mean? And she just like, she had to confront it. It was, you could tell it was the first time in her life she really allowed herself to confront her complicity with Tony's crime. And what did she choose? She went back to him. See? She went back to him. He got her a big old jewel, and she went back to him. Yeah, she's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm dependent. And he said, if you are any kind of mother at all, you will take your children, get as far away from this man as possible, and you'll make it work, because that's what mothers do. You know, Walt Jr. was an annoying asshole too. He kind of was, yeah, but he was supposed to be, right? He's an angsty teen. What did you think of Steve Buscemi's character in Sopranos? For me, he was not really believable as a mob guy. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I've always liked Steve Buscemi, and he's done a lot of mob movies, so you can't really say that he doesn't seem like a mob guy. I mean, he keeps getting cast in these mob adjacent films. So I think he works. I think he was believable as a dude trying to get his life put back together and struggling against his baser instincts to rejoin the crime that put him away. and harboring a little bit of anger towards the people that allowed him to sit there and rot in prison. Yeah, Buscemi was good in that. I don't know. I didn't feel like his character was out of place or whatever. I mean, he was out of place, but he was supposed to be. Like, I didn't think his character was out of place in terms of the broader script. Like, his character was a guy with one foot in both worlds. He was torn and out of place. So maybe that, played to people differently. Yeah, we finished Boardwalk Empire late last year, and he was fucking fantastic in that. As a not a mob guy, I guess, but definitely a mob adjacent figure, like a corrupt politician with mob ties. Do you think Chrissy was the most tragic of the show? Tragic? No, no, I don't think Chrissy was the most tragic of the show, but maybe he was. I don't know. Hank was a fat asshole too. Sorry, I just think pretty much yeah, they were. I mean, I think that's one of the like they're all kind of like blemished people with their own annoying traits and their kind of own self-imposed problems and all that, right? Yeah. I thought Hank was a likable character, but not really an understandable, like not maybe not understandable isn't the word I'm looking for. Like he was likable, but not because he was gregarious and funny. He was likable because it was interesting to watch him operate within his own self-imposed mental constraints. I've not I have not seen Better Call Saul. I'll probably check it out at some point, but I needed a little Breaking Bad break. I needed a breaking break. So I didn't want to dive right into that after, you know. mm, I'll go back to it one of these days, maybe. Yeah, I've seen Miller's Crossing. That's pretty good. I feel like Furio doesn't get enough love. He was a real badass and a tragic character too, right? Like maybe even more tragic than Chrissy because Furio just wanted a normal life. Chrissy had all these ambitions and all these drug problems and all this self-involvement and shit. And all Furio wanted was a little place to call his own and a wife and children and a small family. You know what I mean? He just wanted that so bad. And, you know, it's tragic that he was just kind of thrust back into the crime life and on the run and just, never really got what he was looking for. Got to taste it, but didn't get to eat it. What did you think of Jesse Pinkman? You think he was a good guy stuck in a bad guy world, or just another bad guy? Just another bad guy. Yeah, like Jesse Pinkman was a really relatable character because I think, especially growing up where I did, I think everybody's known a Jesse Pinkman, right? Just a dude that's kind of funny and maybe even fun to be around sometimes, but just self-destructive and kind of stupid, kind of like willfully stupid and careless with other people, moody and standoffish and shitty, like really shitty. I think everybody knows a person like that. So he was a really relatable character for sure. But yeah, low life, yeah. 100% half my group of high school buddies could have turned into Jesse Pinkman for all I know. Yeah. Same. I knew a few Pinkmans, fun guys, funny to be around, cool to party with sometimes, but then sometimes not. Just unstable and selfish. That's a good way of putting it, you know, and being charitable. Imagine where Pinkman would be without Walt. I mean, maybe Pinkman would be better off without Walt, you know? In fact, I 100% think he probably would be. Even if he didn't self-improve, he'd probably be better off. Most likely dead. I mean, the fact that he's not dead is just a plot device, you know? Like, this dude went up against like a drug cartel and won. I mean, come on. He'd have a lot less mental scars, yeah, and he might have met that chick anyway, and they might be in love. And if with Walt not involved, there'd have been no reason, you know, for her to die. He was supposed to die in the first season. I remember reading that. He was not planned on being like a series wide character. The series was supposed to focus on Walt almost exclusively, and Pinkman was supposed to be like a casualty of Walt's, you know, crimes and stuff. But people liked the dynamic that he and Pinkman had too much, and the writers liked it too much, and so they basically rewrote the show based on that actor's performance and the rapport that he had with Walt. Do you think he was the Chrissy of the show? Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that they are similar archetypically. Delusions of grandeur and kind of like an enamored with the crime life and driven by selfish desires and drug abuse. Yeah, I could. There's a lot. You could draw a lot of parallels between the characters for sure. Ralph Cifaretto was in the Goonies. Yeah, he's one of the Fratellis. He's the Fratelli brother. Ma, he's taking the pepperoni. I fucking like the pepperoni. Don't tell me I don't fucking take the. He was also in The Matrix. He was what was that guy's name? Not Cain, right? It was some biblical name. And it was a bad guy from the Bible. I can't remember what his name was in The Matrix. But yeah, he was in that. He's been in a bunch of shit. He's a character actor from way, way back. Cypher. That wasn't Cypher. Was it Cypher? I thought his name was like, maybe I'm wrong. It's been a while since I watched that movie, obviously. But anyway, yeah, he was Cypher in that, and he was really good as in that role as well. I love that scene he has, you know, where he's eating the steak in the Matrix. It's like, you know, I know intellectually that this steak is not real. And it's just a bunch of numbers and stimulus in my brain, you know. I love that scene. That's a great scene. But yeah, Ralphie Cifaretto was probably my favorite. You know, one of the great things about The Sopranos is that it had enemy close antagonists a lot of seasons, right? Antagonists for the seasons, like foils for Tony in the season that weren't necessarily like rival mob bosses or whatever. People from within his own family whose problems slop over onto Tony's and Tony's slop over onto them, and they end up being at odds because of it. And Ralphie Cifaretto, I think, is my favorite of those. That arc, the way that Tony, because you know, like Ralph was a foil for Tony, and Tony being the anti-hero of the show, but Tony gave him cause. You know what I mean? The whole shit with the horse, the way that like Ralphie was into horses and he brought Tony along to try and impress him, and then Tony ends up buying into the horse and making it his horse and all this shit. She was a hua. Yeah. Livia was great. I mean, what a fucking great character, right? What an amazing performance, an amazing character, and a really like you got to give the writers credit for Livia, I think, even more than the actress that portrayed her, because what a great, like, totally fits the picture that you would have of Tony Soprano's mother. Distant, strict, withholding of love and genuine emotion, maybe even incapable of it, dismal, depressed, anxious, consumed by her own mental demons. And then, Tony is way more like her than what we know about his father, especially from watching Many Saints. Tony is like Livia again. And I remember, Junior talking about Livia at one point in the show. And Junior's like, that woman could have stepped up and been a boss. And she would have been the best boss this fucking New Jersey ever had. You know? Carmela's speech at her funeral was awesome. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was a great moment. That woman was awful. She ruined every dinner. Like they just you haven't seen the Saints of New York, Newark. It's good. It's good. It's not The Sopranos. It doesn't necessarily have exactly the same feel, but it's a great movie. Just a great show. I mean, you could just endlessly examine even the side characters. It's another one of those shows, and I talk about this a lot. The example movie that I give of a movie that is so perfectly written and so perfectly conceived that no character that has any screen time at all is a waste of time. There's no convenience characters in that show. There's no convenience characters in Silence of the Lambs. Silence of the Lambs is a masterclass in making interesting side characters that add more than they subtract in screen time. And The Sopranos is exactly the same way. Exactly. There's not a single convenience character in The Sopranos. They all are interesting. They're all purposeful, right? They all move the story along or augment the story or add to it. Yeah, I watched The Wire. Yeah. Another good example of that, The Wire. The Wire is a fucking fantastic show. I mean, I don't know. I missed out. I really did. I didn't watch The Wire until I think it was not last year. I think it was a year before last, like 2022 or 23. I watched it. Fucking fantastic show. There are some great examples. Yeah, Jareth, I agree. Falling Down is another one of those movies where, there are extras in it, but the people that have lines and significant screen time, all interesting. Did you watch the series about the crazy dude who kidnaps a psychiatrist? No, I did not. Thoughts on Succession? Bro, that show was fucking fire. That show was so inspiring as a dude that like wants to make movies, maybe, like I've always kind of wanted to make a film. And there were so many set pieces in that show that I just wanted to steal. I loved the way that they blended set pieces with impetus in the story between the characters. So there's a scene in Secession where all the guys, the brothers and the side character guys all go to this like secret rich person underground party, And it's this weird, party where there's a bunch of drugs and sex and shit and music. And that set piece is used as a foil to set up no less than three major plot lines are advanced within that set piece in a way that I feel like a lesser show would have just done it in a conversation. You know what I mean? Like that show was so good, so well written, funny, touching, crazy, fucking just like interesting. I was enraptured by that show. I really was. I couldn't get enough of it. We could not stop watching it. It was just like every day we had to kill an episode every day because it was just too good. And there were days where we'd watch two, and that's weird for us. We're usually like with a TV show, Amelia and I will watch an episode a day, sometimes only half an episode a day, like if it's a longer show. Oh, you need to watch Succession. Just watch it. Trust me. And I tell you what, it's a little bit slow to pick up. Stick with the show. Give it like 2 episodes to grab you by the balls. There's a lot of like character development at the very beginning that's necessary, but it doesn't have the pace that it picks up. Midway through, 3/4 of the way through the first season, the pace just goes boom, 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 boom. And it never stops. It's just one thing after the next. Great characters, not a single character in it that is a waste of time. Yeah, put it on your list. If you have not watched Succession, put it on your list. It is worth your time. It's great. I have not seen The Boys, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. And I think after I finish this Night Country season, this True Detective Night Country season, I think The Boys may be on my list. Although I think I'll have to get Netflix for The Boys, which I hate. Boo, Netflix. Mindy and I are finishing Barry this week. Succession is next on our list. Yeah, dude, I'm dead serious, Pranav. You will not regret it, dude. You will not regret it. I don't look, you guys know me. I'm not a dude that shows up here and puts you guys like really heavily pushes something on you guys. I'll tell you when I like something, but I'm pretty like with mass recommendations and shit. I'm pretty fucking reticent to do that most of the time. But I'm telling you, you need if you have because I think it flew under the radar for a lot of people. I think a lot of people just didn't watch it. You'll fucking love The Boys, Paul. I've heard good things, and some of the scenes I've seen are just crazy. You know what I mean? I don't understand them because I don't have the context, but there was a scene where so I saw one scene that sold me on eventually watching the show, and I don't know anything about it. But this dude comes in and he's kind of dressed like Superman, super clean cut. I think it's Michael Fassbender playing. No, not Michael Fassbender, but it looks like Michael Fassbender. He very very much looks like that guy, but it's another dude. But he looks like Superman, and he goes and he's like taking a tour of like a training facility. I think there's like a doctor with him, and there's some dude, some other. He goes and sees all these other he goes and sees all these other superheroes, like these young superheroes or whatever, that are like coming up. And there's one, that comes up to him, and I can't remember what power he had. I think he was super fast or something, or whatever. And Homelander's just talking to him like normal. He's like, "Yeah, man, that's cool." And then just out of nowhere, just super fast, he goes boom and boxes the dude's ears. I think that's what it was. The dude was blind. So the young upcoming superhero was blind, but he had super hearing. He was like Daredevil. And the dude just out of nowhere, the Superman guy, who I think watching with no context, watching the scene is the good guy. He just busts this dude's fucking eardrums. Blood comes squirting out of his ears and shit. Yeah. I didn't know what the context of that scene was, but I was just like, brutal. Okay, I got to watch the show. Now you're another worthless blind guy. Yeah. Yeah, I forgot the line. Now you're just another fucking cripple. Yeah. I was like, okay, I gotta watch the show. Well, that's what's kept me from watching it, Merrick, is like I've got superhero burnout from the Marvel shit and the DC shit. Like I was super reticent to watch it, especially like when it came out years ago, because I've been so burnt. I'm done. I'm done with Marvel. I will not see another Marvel movie unless they put Thanos in it, I guess. If they put Thanos or they get the original cast back together for another big hurrah or some shit, I'll do it. But all this new shit, I don't want it. I'm done with it. DC keeps fucking failing, so fuck DC. I'm just done with superheroes, and that's what kept me from watching it. Boys for people who hate cape shit. Well, I don't necessarily hate it. I'm just burned out on the concept of it. I like superheroes. I was a comic book kid. I still have that interest. But the universe that's been created by Disney and Marvel, in the Marvel cinematic universe or whatever, I just can't fucking deal with it. I literally can't. I'm just bored with it. Surprised you like them in the first place. Really? What, like, that's the thing is like I love movies, but I'm a average dude. When like, I love sitting down and watching just to turn your brain off and eat a bunch of fucking buttery salty popcorn, like action flick guy. I mean, that really is my home base. A lot of my favorite movies as a kid were action movies. My favorite movie of all time was an action movie, although I want to have a talk about that. Maybe we'll talk about that now. So you guys know, like, for the longest time, I'm not a big guy that likes to answer favorites questions. I don't like ranking things. Oh, you got your poster? Glad. Did you get a dick? Did you get a dick poster? So now that like patrons are starting to get their posters, I think it was 1 in 20 drew a little dick somewhere on the thing with my Sharpie. Did you get a dick? I drew a little cartoon dick and balls somewhere, kind of like off to the side, away from my signature. Did you get a dick? Did you get a dick? Did you get a dick? Oh, you didn't get a dick? It's cool. I just thought it was funny. So Aliens is my favorite film of all time. Aliens, action movie, right? Also a horror movie. Definitely action horror, right? Love that movie. Basically have nothing but effusive praise to say about it. I sat down the other day. This was a few weeks ago. And we were looking, Amelia and I were looking for something to watch. Night Country had come out, but it only had like 2 episodes available, and we didn't want to catch up to it. I hate having to wait. So we were waiting for that to come out. We just didn't know what we wanted to watch. And I saw Fury Road on HBO. And I was like, man, she'd seen it. I'd seen it. She's like, I wouldn't mind watching it again. And I'm like, fuck it, let's put Fury Road on. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching that movie. And I had a thought in my head. And it's a thought that I have not had for any other film ever that I've seen. I was like, this movie is more epic than Aliens. This is a better movie. And I was like, whoa, wait. Do I mean that? And like, I had to, like, I thought about it after, because we watched it episodically. Oftentimes Amelia and I will sit down and share a meal, and we won't want to watch a whole movie. So we'll just watch a chunk. I watched like the first half of it that night. And then I was like, whoa, wait. I think that movie may be supplanting Aliens for me, pound for pound, in terms of just like the joy of watching it. It's entering the conversation for me. Oh yeah, I'll be there for fucking Furiosa as soon as it comes out for sure. I'll see that shit in IMAX. I'm not missing out on the because I didn't get to see Fury Road in IMAX. I'm not missing out on this one. I'm not being stupid on this one. I'll go see Furiosa as soon as it comes out. Fury Road is a transcendent film, dude. So within the first 20 minutes of that movie, they have that sandstorm scene where the fucking the patrols from the Citadel catch up to Furiosa and they chase her into that giant sandstorm where when they're in there it's like giant tornadoes and shit. Cars are getting picked up and blown up and shit slung into each other, right? That scene, that sequence, it would be a finale in 99% of the action genre. The level of pulse pounding action and fucking great CGI and great special effects, the blending of that like super duper practical shit with all of this fucking really tastefully well done epic CG that just makes it all, Nux like final like, witness me floods his fucking car with gas and nitrous and he's ready to blow himself fucking sky high and shit. That would have been a finale in 99% of action movies that come out. And it happens in the first half hour of Fury Road. It's one scene like that after the next, after the next, after the next. I don't know, man. I'm not saying it's supplanted Aliens is my favorite movie. I'm not willing to say that yet, but it's in the conversation now. Like I'm having the conversation in my head. Like dollars to donuts. How do these movies stack up? And I haven't done that really. I haven't gone that in depth with a movie ever versus Aliens because it's just apparent to me that the movie doesn't quite stack up. But this Fury Road shit, this movie is just like every time I watch it, I feel better about it. Every time. Every time I see it, I think more fondly of it. But it's woke, is what my coworker told me. Dumbass dude. Really? That's a woke movie? All right. Why? Because women fight back against men and kill a few of them? Oh, got it. I don't know. The war rig is two supercharged V8 diesels Frankenstein together. I love that scene in that movie. I don't know if it makes any sense, but like Nux and the war boy and Nux the war boy and Max are blowing gasoline right into the blowers of these big supercharged V8s to get more RPM out of them or whatever. Like I don't know if that actually makes any sense in the real world, but that's such a cool part of the movie. You know what? I do have a gripe about Fury Road. I do. And it's a gripe that like I think average people probably don't even notice. Do you guys there's the metal mechanic. You're in here. You've seen the movie. You're a mechanic. There's another dude in here that was fucking stripping down an engine earlier. I want to know if you noticed anything in that movie that made you go like, "Oh fucking no, nope, no fucking way, dude." It would work like spraying starting fluid into the intake, right? There are like 5 times in that movie where somebody grabs a handful of chrome exhaust pipe and doesn't react. And I don't think people realize how screaming hot those chrome exhausts are. Like an exhaust pipe that's for an engine that's been fucking like burning. It would literally take fucking the first 3 layers of your skin off and you'd leave it behind on that exhaust pipe. And there's so many times when somebody's like climbing around the outside of the rig and they'll just like grab a fucking piece of exhaust pipe. And I'm just like, no, no, no. Like the chicks do it too. There's a scene where that pregnant girl is climbing on the outside of the rig and she's like, she just grabs a big exhaust, and this is when the rig is like screaming at full fucking speed and they're pushing the RPMs to the max, and she just grabs onto it and just like maneuvers around it. And it's like, that's just something I learned from being around my dad, who was a mechanic. It's just like that there, you don't ever touch a fucking hot engine anywhere, but the exhausts can be like red hot on those fucking things. It will literally just eat the fucking fingerprints right off your fingers. And there's like 5 times I noticed in the movie where somebody was just grabbing on to something. It makes sense, like when Rictus grabs the engine at the end, right? That he's committing suicide. You know, he's so overcome with rage that his hands don't feel the pain or whatever. But there are just so many times where people will just grab onto the exhaust and hold on to it like nothing's happened. And you don't see, like, they would be crippled from then out. They would have literally skin sloughing off of their hand and it would swell up and bleed. Like they would be fucking done. That hand would be done for the movie. You know what I mean? I don't remember how Rictus died. Rictus jumps on the hood of the war rig with Nux driving it and pulls the fucking engine, the whatever they call the top part of that, the engine block part, the top that's hanging out. He pulls that chunk of the engine off and then Nux rolls the thing over on him. A blower. Yeah, he just pulls the whole blower off the engine, and the Nux has his witness me moment. Witness me. Rolls it. Engines are hotter than people realize. Oh yeah, dude. I have seen just like there's a lot of heat involved in bigger fucking engines and bigger vehicles anyway. Like one of the craziest things that you'll see is there's a place in California where you're driving out of the fucking Central Valley and into the LA basin. You go over this mountain pass that I've talked about it before. I know I have on the show, called the Grapevine. It's just called Grapevine. I think it's named after the little town that's right at the base of the mountain pass. That town is called Grapevine, but it's called the Grapevine. And it's a super steep, windy mountain pass, right? With a trucker lane, because these trucks carrying full loads of shit into the LA basin, they can't pull the hill at full speed. So they have their own little lane where they crawl along. And then of course, what goes up must come down. So coming down out, whether you're coming out of the LA basin and going back into the valley or vice versa, there's a whole downgrade for miles and miles and miles, right? And for trucks, that's a problem because they've got so much weight behind them. They will continuously pick up dangerous speed if they don't use their gears and use lower gears and get on the brakes pretty often. And I've seen the brakes on those trucks glowing white hot and throwing off fucking steam and shit. I've seen the exhaust pipes on those things where the truck will drive through a shadow, like it'll go through like a cutout in the mountain that shades it, and I'll see the red glow at the base of that fucking exhaust stack. The i5. Well, that's the 99 that turns into the i5. So yeah, it's you would take the I-5 out of LA and it becomes the 99. If you're coming out of the valley going into the basin into LA, it's the 99 turning into the 5. Yeah. Dude, I've seen some crazy fucking shit on the Grapevine. I remember one time on the Grapevine, and there wasn't even traffic yet. This had clearly just happened. There were no emergency responders on the scene. I came around a corner on the Grapevine, and there was fire. It was just something like a giant ball of fire, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa! Got on the brakes. Off on the side of the road around this corner was a big rig, like a big Class A motorhome, expensive ass fucking motorhome RV, and it was engulfed in flames. It wasn't just like the engine compartment was burning or one of the wheels was on fire because the brakes got too hot. The whole fucking thing, it was like an inferno. And there was a family standing outside of it, and I'll never forget it. Like, I looked at the family, and they were all just kind of looking at it, and the dad was just like, and I was like, whoa, what the fuck? I thought about it. I was like, should I stop? But there were lights coming up the other side. They were going to the turnabout and shit. And I was like, they don't need other fucking dorks hanging around. But yeah, if I hadn't seen like responders coming up the mountain, I probably would have stopped and been like, is anybody hurt? Do I need to get you to a hospital? Like, 'cause it was fucked. Oh yeah, Grapevine is one of those things. It's well paved and well maintained, and it looks nice. And so you'll take your shit box car on it. I've done it, and your car handles the heat down in the valley just fine on flat land. But you get it on you start pulling that hill, and it's overheated. So you'll see that constantly on the Grapevine. People pulled into the emergency lane with their fucking hoods up, steam billowing out of the radiator. Yeah, people don't like. I'm very respectful of trucks on the road, just not necessarily because I like them or whatever, but because I understand that they are a vehicle that reacts differently than the one that I'm driving. So you can get hard on the brakes on a fully loaded semi and you're not stopping for a long time. You get hard on the brakes on a modern car and you stop pretty quickly. These trucks cannot stop that fast. And you have to treat them as such. They also do not have great vision. Now, maybe that's changing now with the advent of these like digital cameras, because my car has 4 or 5 cameras around it, and I can see the car from above. It's got a representation of the car in the middle, and then I can see what's around it. So it's got 5 or 6 cameras on it, and I'm assuming that like modern rigs can integrate this. But they still don't have the visibility that you do if they look visibly over their shoulder to their left or right. So you never pass a semi. You never pass a semi on the right because they just can't see you as well over there. Yeah, I mean, if they're on a downgrade, it can be over a mile before they can bring that thing to a stop. If they're on a downgrade, what I'm talking about, if those brakes are hot and you cut them off going downhill, those brakes can fail. And then you're fucked. There's runaway truck ramps all up and down the Grapevine on the downgrades because there has to be. I saw a truck use one once when I was a kid coming over the Grapevine. Saw a truck. He wasn't going super fast, but he had to use that fucking gravel stop. Just lost his brakes. He was able to use his engine brake, but he still was unstoppable for miles going down this grade. He had to go off on the gravel stop. Always have a warm sense of nostalgia when approaching the Grapevine. Yeah, me too. I love LA, I really do. I hate it and I love it. But going to LA was always fun as a kid. Going to Magic Mountain is right there off the Grapevine. You come down off the Grapevine, and before long, you're in Valencia, which is where Six Flags Magic Mountain is at, which is one of the greatest coaster parks on the West Coast, maybe the best. I don't know. Do you guys know of any on the West Coast that would even rival? I know there's some East Coast, like Cedar Point and stuff, but like on the West Coast, is there a better fucking coaster park than Six Flags Magic Mountain? I can't think of one, and I've been to them all. I've been to Knott's Berry Farm. I've been to Great America. Yeah, I've never. It's the greatest coaster park I've ever been to. And it's for me growing up a 4 hour drive, 4.5 hour. You were born in Valencia, cool. Yeah, I attended CISA, California State Summer School for the Arts at CalArts in Valencia, which is a beautiful campus, and I would have loved to attend that if I had grown up on the mean streets of Beverly Hills instead of Madera. But my parents could not afford to send me to CalArts. But CalArts is a beautiful fucking performing arts school there in Valencia. I heard Six Flags bought Cedar Point. Yeah, I think you're right. I might be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. I don't know. But yeah, it sounds about right. Great Adventure was like 10 years ago. Yeah. Knott's Berry Farm is just a great park. Yeah, there's some fun rides there, and it's got good food and it's chill. But it's not a coaster park. It's got a few thrill rides and stuff, but Six Flags is a proper coaster park. And it's got the craziest coaster I've ever personally been on. The fucking most fun, scariest, craziest coaster that I've ever ridden in my life is at Six Flags. It's called Tatsu. That coaster is fucking nuts. It's a Superman coaster. So you start standing up and then it moves you, you get strapped in and then it moves you like this. So you're on your face. X2 is crazy, but it's not super high. I've ridden X2 and X2 is nuts. It's a 3D coaster. So it like the car moves in different ways. It's fucked. But it doesn't hold a candle to Tatsu, dude. Tatsu is legit one of the craziest experiences I've ever had. It pulls a negative G backflip with you on your stomach that like literally compresses your chest so hard that you can't get air for like a second and a half. You pull so many hard G's on that backflip. You're like whoa. Crazy fucking ride. Or coasters and Six Flags over Georgia are mid at best. Goliath is okay, but that's it. That's what I've heard. Heard a lot of Six Flag parks aren't great. Six Flags Magic Mountain is what the one we've got is called, and that one tends to rate pretty high among Six Flags parks. At least the last time I looked into it. Maybe Batman and Superman are tolerable. Yeah. Six Flags has that Superman ride. Maybe they closed it though. I don't know. That's one of the craziest fucking rides I've ever ridden. I'll never ride a ride like that again. I've seen what they do now and I felt it, and it is fucking terrifying. So, no. But it was one of those ones that accelerates really fast, goes straight up in the air, and then it just hangs you in negative G's at the top. You're just like, and then it goes backwards. You fall fucking straight down backwards. Spooky. And that's enough. I don't need it. You know what I mean? Superman's still open. Yeah. I know it was closed for a while. And there was talk of it maybe remaining closed or being changed. All my kids are terrified to go on them, so I can't even go because it would be a huge waste of money. Well, I mean, you and Mindy could go together and take turns. It sucks that you wouldn't be able to ride them together though. But like she could stay with the kids and you could go ride the fucking backflip, flippity dip, hibbity doo, you know. And then you could take the kids, she could go ride it. I've just watched a vid of Tatsu, dude. I've seen the videos of it, and I'm not trying to, you know, I know everybody says this, but seeing the video and the experience are two different things. But yeah, it's a crazy fucking coaster, bro. Like I'm not joking. I've been on some wild fucking coasters in my life. I'm a total coaster junkie. I'll ride anything, and if something really spooks me, I'll ride it a bunch of times. You know. I faced my fear when I was a kid. Because I used to, when I was a little kid, I used to be spooked. But as soon as I got tall enough, and you know what, the coaster that broke me, you can look at that too, was Six Flags Magic Mountain, the Viper. That coaster was relatively new when I went on it as a young kid, and I was just tall enough to get strapped into it. And man, I fucking dithered about it. And my dad finally he got me to go on it. He was like, "Well, I'm going on it, PJ." And I was like, he's just got in line, you know, started walking into the thing. And my mom was like, "Well, you can stay here with us, PJ. We'll wait for your dad." And I was like, "Dad, wait." And after I went on that, it was scary as fuck, but I was addicted. I couldn't get enough of it. Yeah, Viper was crazy. Viper had a corkscrew loop and a triple loop. So it has like a 1, 2, 3. Pretty cool coaster, honestly. I still ride it when I go to Six Flags. Yeah, I did ride the updated Colossus. I'm not a big fan of wood coasters though. They're rough on my back, bro. Too rough, man. There's a coaster. I don't know if it's still there, but called the Cyclone towards the back of Magic Mountain. It's an old fashioned wood coaster. Not as big as the Colossus, but man, that thing was a rattle trap. Yeah, I mean, if you live in Berkeley, it's a bit of a drive, but you know, it's not unthinkable. It's gone. Good. That Cyclone was a fucking rattle trap, bro. It was a death trap waiting to happen over there, dude. I was young and hurt my back on it. It would shake so fucking violently at the bottom of its first drop and end it because it would go down this drop and into a banking turn. And it was just like just like people would injure their I injured my back before my back was even really all that bad. I was still a youngster. So that's really the only coaster that I won't ride. So I'm glad they tore it down because it's just not fun. Like the whole time you're just like, fuck, is this thing gonna fall off the tracks or what? And then it's over, and you're like, you're sore. Ghost Rider might be the best Woody on the West Coast. That is fun, not painful at all. Yeah. There's a pretty good one. God, what is it called? There's one on the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk. Is it the Comet? No. Somebody look that up. What is the big Woody at the Santa Cruz Beach Boardwalk called? The Comet? The Meteor? No. But it's a good wood coaster. Starts in darkness. It goes through like a tunnel. It's kind of cool. The Big Dipper. Thank you. I was thinking of like a celestial thing, and I couldn't remember what. Yeah, the Giant Dipper or the Big Dipper. Yeah. That's a pretty cool fucking Woody, and it's smooth. Like a lot of people, like when I would tell them that, and they're like, "Well, yeah, it's a wooden coaster. It's going to be a little rattly." I'm like, "No, you don't understand, dude. This thing was like fucking trying to shake you to death." Have not seen Dune yet. No, it's not out where I'm at yet. Comes out the first. I mean, I guess there were probably some early viewings or whatever, but I didn't make it to any of those. I'm gonna go see it when it comes out. I'm gonna try and catch it in IMAX. Yeah, the Giant Dipper. Thank you for looking that up. I just couldn't remember the name. I went to the OG Six Flags. I went to Six Flags over San Antonio. Not Dallas though. So it's not an OG Six Flags, but it's one of the OG Six Flags. And that was a very depressing trip for me because I took my girlfriend Ashley at the time and her cousin and her cousin's boyfriend. It was like a double date thing. But I was really looking forward to going on some coasters. And so the big coaster there, I think it was called the Rattler or the Big Rattler or something. It's the best one there. We made a beeline straight for it. And I waited in the line and I got in the line and it was a long line. And we got there and when I got seated in the thing next to my girlfriend, I was all stoked, pumped. And it was one of those ones that has the like that comes down over you and clicks into place. And a dude came to me and he pushed on it really hard and it clicked a little bit. And I was like, okay. And then somebody, he went over to the controls and then he came back to me and he pushed more and went back to the controls. And then finally they were like, sir, I'm sorry. You're too big. It won't close on you. And I was like, are you serious? I was like, look, I'll fucking say. And they were like, no, we're allowed. We can only try a certain amount of times. I'm sorry. And so they had to fucking like in front of everybody too, all the people waiting, let me out, let another person on to sit next to my girlfriend. I had to stand over on the side with the fucking bags and wait for them. Fucking embarrassing, bro. And I thought like, I wasn't even all that big. I mean, I'm a big guy, but I wasn't even all that big at that time. And I really thought like, this is a fucking Texas one. So they're definitely be accommodating as some fatties. Nope. I seen a girl ball up in tears in that situation. Oh, I wanted to. I didn't though. I took it like a man. I stood there with the two chicks' purses and my backpack. Stone faced. Oh well, I didn't want to ride this shitty fucking roller coaster anyway. Yeah, when they got off the ride or whatever, my girlfriend was like, "Baby, do you want to just leave?" And I was like, "Kinda, but I want you guys to have a good time." So I tell you what, I will chill. I'll have fun. I'll ride the rides that I can ride. I can go on the log ride with you guys. I'm sure some of the other coasters are fine, and they were. And I was like, if there's a big one like this, I don't want to go through that again, so I won't ride that. And I'll just wait for you guys. I'll get a corn dog or something, and I let them have a good time. It was still a good time, but that was lame, because I couldn't go on the 3 or 4 big coasters that I wanted to because I just didn't want to go through that again. It was very embarrassing and humiliating, but I didn't want to ruin everybody's day. And I still had fun. I still got to ride some stuff. So that happened on Top Gun at Great America. I've ridden Top Gun before, so I've been able to get on it, but it sucks, bro. It really sucks. It's a shitty feeling. You ride the teacups. I love the teacups, dude. I love just trying to make everybody that's in the teacup with me puke by making it spin super fast. I get it going super fast. That disc in the middle. Water parks, yay. Hell yay. No, I love a water slide. I love a wave pool. I don't go to them very often, to be honest with you, but I think that's more just I'm adverse because I'm a big, fat, pale whale looking dude. Honestly, like I can't see myself anymore at this age running around with a shirt on at the fucking water park. I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm not ashamed necessarily, but I guess to a certain extent I am. I just rather not invite like the jokes and the jeers and the jibes and stuff. I know I'd hear it. There's always a bunch of teens and tweens at those water parks, and I know I'd hear one of them talking shit or whatever, and I just don't want that. Lazy River, yeah, dude. Or as my dad used to call him, the pissy river. He was like, you know how many people just get comfortable and just piss in that river, and then it just goes around in a circle all day. And I was like, gross. You're probably right. Paul, you human who care. Yeah. I was a dude that like back in the day when I would swim with like I'd go to a family barbecue or whatever and swim, I would wear a shirt. Now I just like my family doesn't get any reprieve. They get to see the whole fucking shit. Because I don't care anymore, like on that level. But I'm still a little like I wouldn't want to like pull my big old fucking gut and man tits out in public and attract a bunch of attention to it. It's just embarrassing to me anyway. It's embarrassing. Man tits, man tits, man tits. Watch them jiggle, watch them flop, watch them wiggle, watch them stop. Man tits, man tits, man tits. I've got stretch marks, but I don't really care about those. Like that shit doesn't bother. It's just like, I'm not even really bothered by how I look. My wife thinks I'm cute. Tells me all the time she thinks I'm handsome and cute and sexy. So, whatever. I care what she thinks. If she said I look like a big fat sloppy slob or whatever, I'd probably feel pretty bad, but she likes it. So fuck everybody else. She's the only one that's really got to deal with it. But yeah, I just don't like it. I don't know. I just don't like fucking. I don't know. Maybe one day I can find somebody to call me a cutie. Everybody deserves somebody that'll call them a cutie. Because humans really are pretty cute. Even the ugly ones like you and me are pretty fucking cute. It's a fat black dude. I totally recommend the Nudist beach. What if you pop a boner on the Nudist beach though? I've always been worried about that. What if I brick up at the Nudist beach? And I'm just like, it's not huge, but it's apparent when it's, hanging bobbing out there, bibble bobbling around. Like, what if I pop a big old fucking boner? What do I do? Fuck that. Oh man. Boners are very acceptable. It's expected. I don't think 70-year-old naked dudes are sexy, so don't have that issue. I mean, yeah, but what if like what if like a femboy walked by? And I was just like, boy, you get kicked out. There's a dude just laying there bricked up right over there by that group of femboys over there. Guess I could just roll over on my stomach and stick my dick in the sand. Nobody would be able to see it there. That does not sound fun. Yeah, a crab pinches my dick. And I go, oh, fuck. And I get up and I'm running around the nudist beach with a big boner with like a crab hanging off of it. And I get arrested for like animal abuse. People are like, look at that hole in the ground. He was trying to fuck that crab. The fuck? That pervert tried to fuck a crab, man. DFF meetup at Magic Mountain. Once I lose a little bit more weight, yeah, I don't want to have a repeat performance and be too fat to fucking ride the rides. So yeah, I drop another 50 pounds or something, which I hope to do. I should be good as gravy to go on them rides. Have something cold ready can kill boners. Just have like a bag of ice cubes in my ice chest that I just put on my crotch. That won't be weird. California man gets pinched in an attempted crab rape coming up at 7 o'clock. No, man, I don't need that. Just walk proudly like you don't notice it. I think trying to cover up your boner would just draw more attention. Yeah, see, although I don't know the boner politics of a beach. Boner. Somebody tell Merrick in the chat that he's like he needs to catch up with us. Join us in the present. Because I think Merrick just heard me say I would stick my boner in the sand, and that was like 3 minutes ago. Say at Merrick, you're behind. You need to catch up. You're 5 minutes behind. So somebody do it. A couple of you guys need to do it for me, please. Make it happen. I like Merrick, but he's reacting in the chat to something 5 fucking minutes ago. Yeah, he's not watching live. Yeah. Tell him to join us. Thank you, Otello. Hopefully he sees that. Just ask for someone for help in dealing with the boner. Are you offering me your help, Mr. Naughty Priest? Are you saying that you would help me with the boner? I'm kidding. It's all good. Welcome to the present, Merrick. I'll do it, Paul. I'll do it, Paul. Bro, stop. I saw Mr. Naughty Priest. I was watching a Demon Mama video, and I saw that you went over there and you dropped a big fucking Naughty Priest bomb on her, and I was appreciative of that. Thank you for that. That was very cool of you, dude. Spreading the love around people who are good within the community as well. Naughty Priest's a fucking legend. I should help you take care of your boner at the fucking beach. Fucking bow down to the Naughty Priest, dude. All hail the Naughty Priest, the naughtiest priest that ever priested. Any more than a man, I'm a god. Bitch touche on God. Oh, oh, luxury. Chitty ching ching, could buy anything, cop that. Oh, oh, collard greens. 3 degrees low, make it hot for me, drop that. Oh, oh, oh. Bounce with the shit. Raise up, raise up. Gonna bounce with the shit. Say, oh, oh, oh. Hold up, biatch. This your favorite song? That beat goes hard. I love that song. Schoolboy Q with Lord Quaz, Collard Greens. That whole album was awesome. You're right. She wants some more. This I say, of course. This is a good song, dude. Schoolboy Q was one of 2 rappers that I pitched Ben to try and reach out to for the Drunken Peasants because they lived in fucking Bellevue. Wiz Khalifa lived in Bellevue. Schoolboy Q stayed at a place that was just up the hill from us. And I was like, dude, if we reach out, show them our numbers and be like, dude, we want to have you on our show, help you push your albums. Wasn't interested. The only rapper he ever listened to me on that was local was Billy the Fridge. Hold up, biatch. This your favorite song? Hey, Tubby. Hey, Tubby. What's up, Hog Slayer? I mean, it would have been huge. I think it would have been huge for the podcast. We could have stepped into that role that ended up getting filled by No Jumper, you know? You know, No Jumper became this podcast that all these rappers wanted to be on and shit. They really weren't doing that kind of content when we started doing it. At least not at that level. And if we'd have had a big fucking collab with like Wiz Khalifa and he was a friend of the show. Cause like I think like honestly, maybe I don't know much about Schoolboy Q, but I think Wiz would have loved sitting in on fucking DP. Just sit around and get fucking super baked and talk stupid shit to people. Like I think and like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about I've in interviews, I think Wiz would have been a really good fit. And I think there was a good chance that if we reached out to his people or whatever, they would, because our numbers spoke for themselves. We're one of the biggest live shows on YouTube at the time, maybe the biggest for a while. And I feel like we just did not fucking leverage that shit. We spent so much time talking to nobodies. And I'm not trying to be mean to some of the guests, but holy fuck, man. You look back on that and you realize like the position that show was in as a performer on it. And you're like, man, we could have been so huge. Yeah, I saw Wiz's appearance on Rogan. That's like one of the reasons I look back and I think, man, that would have been fucking big. And Wiz has just gotten bigger too. Like Wiz Khalifa was big at that time, but now he's huge. Like he's multinational, platinum artist now. Patreon guest that did nothing but mumble for the whole show killed me every time. Yeah, I mean, it was just a bad idea. I mean, there were some fun patron guests that we had. There were a few that were pretty good and rolled with the punches, and some of them turned into memorable characters, Like a lot of people don't know this, but that's how JF got noticed as a content person. Was he was a fucking patron and he came on as a patron. Hold up, biatch. Yeah, I mean, hindsight is 2020 and shit. I think DP still did really well, you know. And I'm kind of Monday morning quarterbacking TJ and Ben. Really, they were running the show and they knew better than anybody else what the show needed. So, I'm not salty that I said we should do this, we didn't do it. But I just think like if we had tried it, it could have been a fucking huge boost for that show. On the Hog Slayer, keep it, dude. I'm not here to talk doo doo about fucking DP, right? Those dudes are making a living like I am. I got no animosity towards them anymore. If I've moved on and I lived it, you know what I mean? You ought to be able to too. I don't watch it either, but that's mostly out of just like wistful sadness, like I really did love that show and I got no fucking whatever. I had no desire to be shit talking them over there. I'll tell stories about stuff and I'll talk frankly about my experiences over there. I feel like that's my right, but as a business person, it does me no good to shit on a show that I loved. Hater energy should never be welcomed. Well, it isn't in my business transactions and stuff, and I'm not above burning a bridge. Like I'm pretty sure Vosh and I will probably not get together. Man, maybe we will, but I'm pretty sure that bridge is pretty toast. I don't have any fucking desire to talk to the dude, and the feeling is mutual. I would bet dollars to donuts the feeling is mutual. And so, I'm not above burning a bridge to another content creator if it comes to that, but by the same token, like as a business person, I'm not even really looking at it like that. I don't think there's going to be a time in the future where like some business collaboration happens between me and Ben or me and Billy or me and that show or whatever. It's not even really for that. It's just like I don't want to be known as a dude that when I'm on, like if I'm part of your show and then I leave it, I just shit talk it, because like I'm not that kind of guy. I was on fucking a bunch of productions, like stage productions, where like, there were people involved that weren't doing a great job, that were kind of making drama and making things hard. And I never shit talked a production company I worked with. I never shit talked like a theater department to other people because I wanted to go back there and I wanted to work again. Working with people that fuck up here and there or whatever is not the end of the world. I certainly fucked up my fair share of times. Like, you know, it just, yeah, I think it reflects badly on me as a person. If I'm the type of person that every collaboration that I have that runs its course, I just shit on that fucking person mercilessly and hate their guts and hope they fucking die in a ditch and hope their content fails and all that. Like, I'm not that type of person anyway. And yeah, I think that being that kind of person kind of reflects poorly on you as a business person or whatever. Working with people you don't like or work well with is part of any job. Oh, it's part of every job. Yeah. Yeah. Working around personality conflict and working around disagreement on best practices and power dynamics and all that shit. That's part of every fucking job, you know. And it does me no good to shit talk another creator. It doesn't put any food on my plate. It just makes me feel bad because I really don't have those feelings either. You know, that's another thing. It's not like I'm stifling it. I got a little salt from back in those days, but you know, I've moved on. I'm doing fine, you know, and keep it neutral or just good for the karma. Yeah, for sure. I feel that. Hello, Polska. Polska Rata. Polska Radu. Polska Volenskaya. At a certain point in your life, drama becomes yeah. I I reached that point in my life quite a few years ago, and I've really done my best. Like, you know, and drama to me is not necessarily like a lot of people would say like the whole Vosh thing was drama. To me, I guess it was in a certain, but like to me, that was a political disagreement. It might have gotten dramatic at a couple of times, but that was just you know, that was par for the course for me. Watching some Polish movies. Well, give me or like recommend one to me. Give me one that I should watch. Maybe I'll check it out. It'll have to be a name I can remember. Sorry. Excuse me. Sorry, what'd you say, Roxy? Hellhole. Okay. I'll check out Hellhole. That's easy to remember. It's good. That doesn't matter. I don't want to relitigate the Vosh thing. I didn't bring it up for that. I'm just using it as like an example, you know. It's like, you know, when his cancel fucking shit happened a couple of weeks ago, you know, I made an implicit choice to fucking, or sorry, I made an explicit choice to not fucking join the Puritan hate fucking pitchfork mob. I made fun of him because I think he's fucking hella stupid for it. But you know, I don't think he should be canceled because he's got some fucking cartoon porn or whatever. It's just not on the fucking radar for me. I haven't read any of the Hellraiser graphic novels. No, I want to though. I want to read that. I want to read the Hellraiser like comic graphic novels and a couple of the adapted books because I've read the Hellbound Heart. I have Doug Bradley's Behind the Mask kind of autobiographical philosophical work that I want to finish reading. I would like to cover all that stuff because I don't know in the future I think covering the Hellraiser universe in long form again is probably in my future. I don't know, maybe. He made an explicit choice too. No, I don't give a fuck. I'll make fun of that motherfucker till the day is done over that shit. You know, I will roast him every fucking chance I get, and I will make every fucking goofy dad joke about it that I can think of. If we're ever in a fucking call together again, he's gonna hear it. But you know, I don't want to see him run off the fucking internet. Do you think that lolly is harmful to children IRL in any way? I'm not getting into the fucking lolly conversation, bro. That's bait. That's bait. I'm just not doing it, dude. It's not an important enough fucking topic in my mind. It's not in nowhere near the place on the hierarchy where I need to devote any time or put myself out there in any way as a fucking like a take either way on this shit. There's nothing to be gained from it and everything to lose. And so I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to get drawn in. I'm not going to get sucked into the conversation. I don't think it's worth the time of discussing, to be honest with you. And it's definitely not worth the time of like, well, you fucking, just like the fucking mob one way or the other. I just don't care. Yeah. It's like sticking your dick in a fucking hive of those giant Asian murder wasps and going like, here, let's philosophize about lolly for a couple of hours. And then you're just breaking your dick off in a murder wasp nest. You know what I mean? You're just going to be, your balls are going to be all fucking stung up. It's not, you know what, dude, I just don't care. How about that? That's my take. I didn't give a fuck one way or the other. It's not important enough to me to give much thought to beyond my, just absolute disinterest. There you go. Trust me, there are people out there that would see that take and go like, burn him. Play any good games lately, Paul? Yeah. I've been playing Grand Blue Fantasy Versus with a group of folks online just from the community. I know them from back in the day, like a lot of them I know from back in the day in the DP Discord / DFF Discord days. Cool people. So I play that. Yesterday I just started playing and I feel fucking like stupid for doing it, but I started because the people on that server were playing Team Fight Tactics, and I've watched it before, and I watched them play it for a while, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of fun, and it's free, so I got that, and I've been playing that. I wouldn't say it's a good game, but it's fun to me. I don't know, it's like a time waster game. And then just for brain off kind of gaming, I've been playing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, which is like a roguelite game set in the Deep Rock. I haven't even played Deep Rock Galactic, but it's like space dwarves, mining, auto shooter kind of game. And so I've been playing that. Those are all pretty good games. I also started, but I think I want to restart. Maybe not restart, but I need to get back into it. I'm just playing too many games right now. But I started fuck, I forgot the name of it again. Made by the same company that made the Souls series, but it's mechs. Made by FromSoft, but it's mechs. I can't remember the name of it, but I started playing that game and it was good. I like it. I like it. Armored Core, thank you. Why do you love dwarves so much? Why don't you love dwarves so much? Yeah, it's Armored Core. So I'm playing that. How long does the game usually hold your interest? Depends on the game. I'm definitely a guy, though, that I don't have sunk cost fallacy with video games. If I start getting bored with a game, even if I put 40, 50 hours into it over a few weeks, I'll just quit it. I'll just literally fucking quit it an hour before the ending. I don't care. I don't owe any time to a game. I never like feeling like, oh, I have to play this game, because it's dude, it's supposed to be a pastime, not a job. I don't know about Helldivers. I was watching a couple people stream it the other day. I don't know if it's for me, dude. It looks a little dark and muddy to me. Like I was not super happy with like how it looked. It just looked a little washed out and muddy and not great. And the combat looked a little like fucking standard to me. It was just grenades and guns. I don't know. Not trying to shit on it. I know a lot of people like it. I just don't know if it's for me. What's your favorite game you like to revisit from time to time, dude? I got the fucking itch. I have one. Final Fantasy 9, dude. I was sitting here the other day and I think I was watching a video and somebody used music from Final Fantasy 9 and I was like, I have to play that fucking game again. That game is evergreen to me. I love starting up a new one. The only thing I hate about that game is the jump rope thing right at the beginning. I have to learn to just let it go and not get those cards or whatever. Because like if you do like 250 jump ropes in a row or whatever, you get this insanely fucking good card for the card game. And I love playing the little side card game in Final Fantasy 9. And I want that fucking card, but I just don't want to fucking sit there and do the fucking skip rope. Oh, Dragon's Dogma 2. I liked the first Dragon's Dogma. That was a fun game. Yeah, I'll see. I'll see. I'm not as bricked up as you about it, but I'll see what it's like when it comes out. Yeah, 9 is my favorite Final Fantasy of all time. It's just like to me it's the one that I cuz I could go back and play any of them, you know. I own them all now. Like all of the old ones that I loved and played through as a kid, I own them all. I can access them all. And the only one I ever really feel the impetus to go back and replay is 9. You do have to win. I think there's a quest where you have to win the card game, but it's okay. It's like super easy. You don't the card game is totally optional. It does lead to some really powerful items and stuff. But you don't need those items to play the game. I just, I like playing it. You can get those items without the jump rope card or whatever, but I just want to have it. Final Fantasy 8 had a card game. It's a little different in 9, but yeah, a lot of the Final Fantasies after 7 really integrated that like side quest kind of card game mechanic. Yeah, Final Fantasy 7. I mean, yeah, dude. Like, look, it's an unimpeachable classic, but I don't want to play it anymore. But 9 is always, when I boot up 9, I'm always happy to play it. I loved 8, but I've had enough of it, Really loved Final Fantasy 8. I played Final Fantasy 8 during a tough time in my life, my very late teens. I was living on my own for the first time, staying on a mattress on the floor, and I had a tiny little TV and a PlayStation. And Final Fantasy 8 was one of the games I had, and I just really lost myself in that game. And I think it's beautiful, and I think it's great, and I love the fucking systems in it that people complain about. I loved the card game. Because once you get into that and really start looking for it and hunting people to play, it's a really fun, like little fetch quest thing. And I don't know. I loved the game. It's fun, but it's just, I don't know. There's something about 9 that kicks me right in the childhood. And I didn't play it until way later. Like when I played 9, I was in a way better place in my life. I was established on my own, had an apartment, had a better TV, still had the same PlayStation though, and popped 9 in. And there was just something about it that instantly felt like childhood to me. It's like this is a game that's like from your childhood, even though it was new. I was in my 20s. Doot, doot, doot. How often do you change your graphics card? I've had the same graphics card. I've had the same PC rig since 2015, and I will be buying a new PC this year, hopefully within a month or two. I really need to do it. Shit is starting to get whack. But yeah, I am not a super fucking, I cannot justify spending the money to remain current on graphics cards. I've got a fucking Asus 1080i or something in here. NVIDIA GeForce 1080 something, and it's been fine. PC is too slow. It's getting old, and there's some motherboard problems. I had a 2 RAM slots die on it, so I've only got half the RAM I want in it now, and it suffers from that, especially with streaming and stuff. So yeah, it's time. It's just time for a new. It's time for a new one. I had to pop it just died on me one day, and I had to pop all the RAM out of it and then just put one in at a time and then tape off the fucking RAM slots that are dead. And I've only got room for fucking two DIMMs in it now. And that's just not enough. So I need a new rig. Remember the but can it run crisis days? I do, yes. And that's one of the reasons I don't do that anymore, because I was like that in those days. I spent so much fucking money when I was young that I really didn't have on my PC stuff, because I just had to have it. You know, I had to have the latest thing. I had to get the fucking nicest graphic card and slam it in my rig, and I had to build a new one. And I really that was my fucking, thing I dumped a lot of money into, and I just don't want to do that again, So for this one, I am going to dump a little more money into it than I could save, but it's in furtherance of not spending too much. It's like, I'm just going to I'm going to find a good deal on a reasonably high-end pre-built computer, and I'm just going to order it. I am totally comfortable with building computers, but I hate the process of tracking down components, and I hate I hate build day, because I can do it, but it is such a nerve-wracking day, because you do all this very careful, precise stuff, and then you have that moment where you have to hit the power button. Did you bend a pin on the fucking CPU? Did you break a RAM slot when you slid it into place? Do you have a faulty motherboard? I don't like that. I just want somebody to build it, make it look, and I hate cabling too. That's another thing. Like, I know how to do it, but I hate cabling. So I want somebody to do the cabling up nice, to do all the testing and benchmarking and make sure that it's good. I'm willing to pay a little extra for that, because I just don't want to go through it. I don't want to source all the parts. I don't want to wait. And then, you'll order all your parts, and then they trickle in because it's from 8 different companies. And then one doesn't come, and you're like, what the fuck? And then you look and you see, oh, on back order, notify me when of it. You know what I mean? You're like, fuck. So now I've got to find another Mobo, because this one's on fucking back order now. Great. I mean, yeah, I think PC architecture is going to go through a fucking ginormous change in the next 20 years. I don't think that the current architecture is going to hold on for much longer. Quantum computing is real. And I think that it's going to become ubiquitous, and that is going to require a whole different architecture. And hopefully they design it to be user friendly and hot swappable and easy and non-delicate. My wife built a few PCs. I know the headache. It really is a fucking headache. It's not only just a headache, but it's like, I don't want to get back into that mentality of like, ooh, I'm going to buy the new graphics card and slap that in. I just want a PC that works for what I need it to do, that'll play any game, a little bit future proofed, and I will sit on that motherfucker for 8-10 years. This is 9 years I've had this PC. Got it in 2015. And yeah, 2024. So do the math. think an entire PC can be run off a few chips soon. I don't know how it's going to work, but I do know that the architecture is going to be completely and utterly like it's not going to be useful anymore once quantum computing is a thing. What's the best way to future proof? Just buy something that's pretty fucking decent for the time that it is now. Get something good. Like it's like this PC. There's been maybe one or two games that I've run into in the last 2 or 3 years that this PC chokes on. It'll play anything still. I mean, maybe less so now that it's starting to fail, like the RAM slots hurt it a little bit with that. But like assuming it was in good working order right now, this PC would pretty much I could play Helldivers on it. I might maybe not at max settings. If that matters to you, then you would have had to get rid of this fucking years ago. But it doesn't matter to me. I grew up the first video games I played, there was just giant pixels on the screen. You know what I mean? Like, so medium graphics and shit. I said it's a fucking NVIDIA it's a GeForce 1080i, I want to say. I'd have to look. I don't really care. I don't want to get into PC specs. It's old. It's not great. It's got a decent CPU in it if you're living in 2015. It was really nice. In 2015. But it's 2024. It's almost 10 fucking years later. It's time to get a new PC. Time to update this bitch. Imagine the kinks people will indulge in with access to real-time AI animation using consumer-grade quantum computing. I mean, it's fucking ludicrous. People just don't know, and there's really no way to explain to people who aren't like super nerds and don't know how much computers have already changed society. Like I come from an age pre-mass computing, not pre-computing. My parents don't come from a pre-computing age, but pre-mass mass consumer computing and the mass availability and ubiquity of computers, and seeing the difference between the world is fucking stark. Like I'm still like I've been around a long time, so it's like the internet is the internet, but there's still a part of me that's mind blown by the things that exist now. Yeah, I think it is a 1080 Ti. Whatever, I don't know. Lighting this show is great. Oh yeah, thanks. I'm using like a softer light, like a outdoor light or whatever. Like, oh, I don't know. I have it on that setting, like the sunny, supposed to mimic outdoor light, so it's not like harsh. Good morning, Vietnam. Dun, 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 dun. Yeah, I mean, like tablets, smartphones, those things. I would have literally, yeah, you're right. I would have shit my pants if somebody would have handed me a fucking iPad when I was 8. I would have thought I was living in like the Star Trek universe or some shit. Like the shit that exists now. People take it for granted. You know, they really do. I think take it for granted, but it's just like there's about to be another fucking quantum leap in computing. Literally, no, no pun intended. Paul, what's your prediction for life in 2030? AI is ubiquitous and in everybody's home and vehicle and personal electronic devices. Um, Augmented reality has become a mass adopted thing at this point. It's almost expected. The design that started with this Apple Vision Pro thing has reached its 15th iteration by this point and is way slimmer and less obtrusive and less goofy looking and more functional, and is mass adopted. It's what people have instead of smartphones anymore. um Nobody drives anymore except for just very niche like exhibitional things and maybe pro sports racing, but even that is going the way of the dodo at this point. Cars are communal. Most people use communally owned cars that are just summoned when needed. And instead of paying a car note and a gas bill every month, they just rent a car from an app like an Uber app, and it sends a driverless vehicle to pick them up, and it charges them a price based on their monthly fee or whatever the fuck. Um, VR once again integrated with the Apple Vision Pro and stuff will be pretty ubiquitous, I think, like less niche, less just among young people and more kind of widely adopted, not just in the gaming space, but in the general social media and application space, as well as, the professional environment. As soon as I saw Mark Zuckerberg pushing this like stay at home but be at the board meeting thing, I knew that that was going to happen because these people want that more than anything. And so the technology is being developed with that in mind, so that will be ubiquitous by 2030. Virtual meetings of all types, maybe even virtual sexual experiences where you and another person get in a virtual environment where, and maybe with some physical rigging, some shit to put your dick in, something to put in your pussy, whatever. I think, we'll control a sexual experience that mimics closer to real human sexuality, real human sexual coupling. And I think that that will be ubiquitous by 2030. I think that a UBI will not only be possible by 2030, I think it will have happened. It's one of those things that I'm actually pretty fucking rosy on as a person. And I think a lot of people are asleep on it. I think the outcropping of all of this stuff where the economy has been uncoupled from the experience of people who live in the country, like average blue collar working people, their success has become completely and utterly decoupled from the success of the stock market. And labor regulations being cut over the last fucking 40 years have weakened things to the point where a job just doesn't pay your bills anymore. And I think we're rapidly approaching a point where the government is going to have to give a stipend to people, basic living expenses, maybe do some more Section 8 kind of rent controlling stuff. I really feel like that's on the horizon, maybe even within the next 5 or 6 years, 2030. So yeah, I feel like that's going to be kind of the landscape, assuming there's no nuclear war. Although, 2030, looking at how things are, maybe a post-war environment, a very recently post-war environment. But I believe that, unless it goes nuclear, the most of America and the rest of the world will be shielded from it. And so these technological leaps will continue happening. These kind of like interfaces with technology. I also think that in the next 5 years, there's going to be some breakthroughs in like brain wetware stuff, probably centered around people who have neurological damage. So blind people, deaf people. I think there's going to be a new wave of wetware directly in the brain, maybe driven by new quantum computing, that is going to allow us to start to circumvent those disabilities in people. I think that's going to be a concurrent also with the more kind of like cybernetic stuff in terms of limb replacement. I think in 2030 is going to have some pretty wild limbs, some pretty wild integration of technology into the human body. I think we'll start to be start to be pretty fucking crazy by 2030. I mean, it's fast approaching a point. If we're all hungry and indigent and losing underwater on our mortgages, those of us that are well off or whatever are just fucked anyway. There's only so much of that they can generationally expect people to fucking sit passively by. They know they have to meet us in the middle at some point. I don't think it's going to be sufficient, but I do think a UBI is in the near future. Yeah, I do think a UBI is in the near future, if not the immediate future. It's being floated at higher and higher levels. Obama is now championing the UBI, which lets you know that the Dems are starting to fucking float the idea as a way to deal with things. So it's coming. It's just a matter of when, right? It's a matter of when and to what degree it helps. I think if AI actually can replicate humans and then have it added to a humanoid robot and it's game over, man. Hope we get UBI. I mean, that maybe not 2030, but we're on the cusp of that shit too. Maybe 2035. I think you're going to start seeing pretty ubiquitous, like AI driven robotics serving public functions, doing menial jobs, cleaning up, maybe even providing overwatch and non-interventionalist security. So like, being there to film and alert any, nearby human security guards of the position of a crime and follow a suspect and stuff. I think the police are going to start using these things. Another thing that has already happened, but by 2030, it's going to be insane. Drones. I mean, I think that most major metropolitan areas will be blanketed by drones, and probably most of them won't even know it. The police department has already started to use drones in certain operations in these like larger markets, New York, LAPD especially. And so this is going to be a thing. You're just like because here's the thing: the police for years were trying to get people. I used to live in a neighborhood where the neighborhood was able to fucking take a municipal vote and vote it down, but the police wanted to put right on the corner because I lived on a corner piece in this neighborhood that was pretty run down. They wanted to put a police camera there on the sidewalk, right on the corner, 360 police camera that would watch the neighborhood. And the way they sold this was, we're going to crack down on drug dealers. There's a lot of drug activity in this neighborhood, and there's some gang activity in this neighborhood. And we're going to watch, and then we're going to prosecute the people who are living here and who are doing this. And the people were like, with a camera you're also going to film me. Well, yeah, we're going to film everybody. No, you're not. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, no, and my community, my little block was not the only place that they've tried this. And there are probably places where they've succeeded. In fact, I know there are neighborhoods in LA where these police posts are. And they wanted this for the longest time, and drones unlock it. Drones mean that there's nowhere you can be where they can't film you in your home. And even then, I think we know there are ways for them to listen in what's going on in an average home as well. Physical means and hacking workaround means taking control of your fucking cell phone mic to amplify your voice and see what you're talking about in your home. It's like, they watch the cameras on traffic lights. Yes, they do. That was something that was a big deal back in the day, and that they claimed these are not cameras to watch. These are cameras that are used for the machine to catch somebody who's speeding. Because people were pissed off about these fucking intersection cameras when they first started showing up in the early 2000s. By the way, funny story, and this is just a weird thing. When I was working in Chandler, Arizona, the guy that invented those was a friend of mine. multi-millionaire dude, crazy dude. Dude, I met being a barista at Starbucks. He lived in the area and he came in all the time. And I loved interesting people, and he was one of those people that just like immediately I was like, dude, I want to try, and because I saw him in there all the time. So I would go and sit with him on my breaks. And eventually, I asked him, what do you do, man? It's pretty, you seem to be pretty knowledgeable. And he was like, those cameras that they're putting up at the intersections that take a picture of your license plate when you're speeding and you get a ticket for it? And I was like, yeah, dude, those are crazy. He was like, I invented those. Like I developed those. I was like, no shit. He's like, yeah. I was like, you must be a fucking millionaire. And he just laughed. He was like, well, a few times over, he had an Audi A4, early 2000s Audi, that was just so slick. I loved that fucking car, and he knew it. He would pull up in his A4, and I would every day, dude, I'd be, geez, that car is so cool, man. I've never even seen a car like that. And I remember one day I was getting off work, and he was in the thing. He was like, hey, man, come here. He was sitting in the cafe having his latte or whatever. He's like, hey, man, come here. He's like, you want to drive the Audi, man? I got something I want to show you. I was like, well, do I? I was like, you sure? He's like, yeah, dude, get in it. Let me drive the Audi. And he showed me the first time I ever saw it, GPS. He was like, watch this, dude. It's like, what's your address? I gave him my address, and he put it in. And it was like, proceed ahead. And I was like, you are kidding me. No more fucking, in the early 2000s, that was some crazy shit, Was it yeah. It was a TT. Yeah. It was not, I don't think it was the convertible, but it was an Audi TT. You're right. I'm thinking of a newer Audi. It was a TT. You're absolutely right. It was the little fucking Audi sports car, not the convertible, though. Or at least I don't remember it being a convertible. Maybe it was, though. It's like, no more fucking, what was that thing? TripAdvisor, or what that everybody used to use? Net Trips. What was it called? I can't even remember. I haven't used it in so long. MapQuest. I just remembered. TT also has a coupe version, so it's not necessarily a convertible. Yeah, I don't remember it being a convertible, but I just might be misremembering. It might have been, honestly. It was a hot fucking car, and it was a TT. He let me drive that car for a while. It was neat, dude. He was a cool guy. He ended up giving me a bedroom set. He heard that me and my girlfriend at the time were sleeping on a mattress on the floor, and he was like, that's fucking retarded. He was like, dude, I'm getting rid of my fucking, I have a nice bedroom set. I'm getting rid of it. You guys just come get it, dude. You can have the bed too. It's relatively new. I slept on it for a couple of years, but he's like, I'm usually out of town. He's like, I'm getting rid of it. It's just too like, I don't need it anymore. I want something different. I'm like downsizing. And so we thought like, oh, it's going to be like a couple dresser drawers. Dude, it was one of those fucking whole ass things that had the big column things with big, it was a whole closet. And then it had a thing that went over your headboard with lights that would come down for reading, that you could just push a button right behind your head and make them go on and off. Like a big, beautiful, expensive, like couple $1,000s made out of fucking solid like cedar. And we were like, are you sure you want to give us this, dude? And he was like, what am I going to do, man? It's like, it weighs a fucking ton. I want it out of here. And I kept that fucking thing, and I used that thing all the way up until 2015 or 2014 when I left it was 2015 when I left my marriage, very early 2015. So when I got a divorce, all the way up until that point in my life, I used that bed set. It was that nice. It was literally fucking solid wood. Probably cost him a couple grand, maybe even more, $3-4 grand worth of furniture. And I was just like a kid working at Starbucks, with a girlfriend who was living with me, who was working as a waitress at Applebee's. And we were like, here's this four grand solid wood fucking beautiful furniture. I schlepped that heavy ass fucking shit from fucking place to place in Arizona, then all the way from Arizona back to California, then place to place in California for years, dude. Yeah, it's going to get mysterious tonight if you're a patron. If you're a pleb, sorry, there's no mystery for you. But if you're a patron, things are going to be mysterious. Bro hooked you up. He was just a cool dude, man. I think he saw that he liked me. I think because he would sit and have long conversations with me, but I was a kid to him. He was like probably my dad's age. But I think he liked me, and so I don't. I just think he was trying to be nice to a kid that was struggling and shit. I mean, it definitely probably did him a favor getting that fucking furniture out of his house for free. Like he probably would have had to pay somebody to remove it. Paul, it's all about famous unsolved mysteries, isn't it? What it is and what it isn't are a mystery. You'll see. The truth shall be revealed tonight, 5:00 Pacific, only on patreon.com/pessimist productions. Join now, and the mystery will be revealed. Fail to join now, and you will never know. One man against the world. Two lovers separated by ideology. Schrodinger's gauntlet. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Will Jacques Lefranche be there? I don't know, man. You know how Jacques is. He pops in and out at will. I think Jacques is concerned that Jacques doesn't want to get burnt out as a meme. So Jacques might be, who knows though? Who knows Jacques Lefranche? I don't know the fucking guy. He ducks me for whatever reason. Every time he pops on the show, I happen to be getting up, taking a shit, taking a piss, or having a smoke outside or something, just taking a stretch. Anyway, I'm done. I'm going to wrap this up. Voice feels better. Ready for the gauntlet. It just almost a little more than 2 hours away. We're going to do a little pre-stream like we always do. A little hour of warm-up for us. So join us for that, even if you're a pleb. And if you're not a patron, consider becoming one so that you'll know the answer to the mystery.